So basically, yeah, so we're here to talk about community cinema. So what I'm going to do is just give you a very brief overview of Creative Arts East as a whole, so you get an idea of what we do in a sort of wider context. I've got a very short trailer to show you about our organisation, and so fingers crossed that will work. And then, yes, I'll talk about cinema, give you sort of the ins and outs of basically how it works. And then at the end, we'll answer questions or talk about the more specific areas that people might be more interested in, and have time for that at the end. As Lisa said, if you want to put any comments in the chat or ask anything as we go along, please do, because there's bound to be something I miss as I go along or you're not sure about, and that's all fine. So to start then, so Creative Arts East is an arts communities charity. We're based in Norfolk, we have an office in Norwich, and we're a team of about sort of 12 members of the team at the moment, varying slightly from time to time, but about 12 of us. Yeah, and we have an office in Norwich, or as I do here, I work from home quite often. So we've been operating for over 25 years, and most of that time was about sort of rural touring arts. But we also run other projects as and when, you know, to kind of maximise our engagement with people and with the arts. I will just say that Creative Arts East is not a venue. We don't manage or run a venue. We almost entirely work with other organisations, other community groups, other charities to engage and to kind of deliver the work that we want to deliver. So we work with other organisations, community groups, funders, all sorts of people, obviously predominantly in Norfolk, but increasingly now in Cambridgeshire and in Suffolk, and sometimes wider than that, but certainly with it sort of in the eastern region. As a charity or as a charitable organisation, we have core values and a vision and mission, which you can see here, and they're all about aiming to achieve a sort of wider appreciation and engagement in arts and art activities across our region, and everyone who works for Creative Arts East has that as their background and wants that to succeed. So hopefully now, and as I said, we celebrated 25 years back in 2019, and we created a short trailer about our work, so I'm hoping this will now work, so bear with me. Right, I have a feeling you probably didn't hear it. Yeah, which is strange because when we tested it, Lisa, that worked.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's probably got something to do with the amount of people we've got on and the settings and the broadband aspect. What I can do is I'll circulate the link for that afterwards, so everybody can hear hear it with volume. Yes. So apologies about that. I wasn't sure whether it would work or not. You never know with these things. We've got to try. Anyway, so yeah, we'll share that afterwards. So the core part of what we do at Creative Arts East is about rural touring, and that goes into sort of two halves. One is about live and one is about cinema. So the live side of things is about bringing professional theatre, music, various live productions to rural venues. And this is what we started doing back in the day, and that's what we've been doing for 25 years and more. In addition, then in 2005, Creative Arts East Screen came into being,
and we support community groups to put on film screenings as well. We do these things through being funded mainly by these organisations. So the predominant one for us is the Arts Council, who regularly fund us. We're one of their national portfolio organisations. So they're our primary funder now, followed by the British Film Institute to support our film activities, and also by our Norfolk County Council and local authorities. And what's funny is I've been working for this organisation for quite a while, and when I first started here, those logos would have probably been the other way around, with our primary one being sort of local authority and Arts Council and BFI being quite minimal, but that's very much switched the other way, as you probably all perhaps understand. As you probably also understand, those funders don't necessarily cover everything that we need to cover when it comes to delivering our work. So as I said before, we have a number of projects that we run, and these come with funding from other sources that help supplement our sort of staff costs and office costs that make our rural touring more viable and more possible to do with the subsidies that we want to offer them with. So we currently work on Our Day Out, which is a workshops for older people, work with young people about trying to get them into event management. We're running the sort of government-led Kickstart scheme for arts organisations in East Anglia, and we run rural touring with pubs through a project called In Crowd as well, so they help us out. So going back to our rural touring and our sort of main reason for being at Creative Arts East. So I'll just briefly mention about our live side of things, which is obviously a big part of what we offer at Creative Arts East. So we aim to bring professional live performances to community venues. They are then hosted by people living in those communities and give them and their audiences the chance to experience national and international arts and culture on their doorstep, which might not be possible any other way for a lot of particularly rural audiences. We offer programs of live performances which have been sourced by our touring manager. They have been chosen because they suit rural touring well. We offer financial support and subsidies as a guarantee against loss of those performances. And we offer other support like marketing and opportunities potentially to go and see performances as well. So then what we're here to talk about mainly today is our community cinema scheme. So this is about supporting venues to put film screenings on. So it's about predominantly rural areas, although we are working with sort of market towns and sometimes actually even with small venues on the peripheries of even in Norwich and things like that, who want to do something a little bit different. And we're normally in non-traditional venues, in village halls, community centres, that kind of thing. Again, it's working with the communities and the people who run these venues to do something for that local area. We do this by offering access to projection equipment. We support with programming and looking at sort of recently released films, and again financial support, offering sort of standardised fees and subsidies against some film screenings as well. So the first part of that is about the projection equipment. So we have cinema equipment that's available for community groups to use, and it's made up of a high definition cinema projector. You get an audio visual box which has sort of amplifier and Blu-ray players in it. There's a large screen that folds out, which is approximately 14 foot across. You also get the speakers and stands and cables and all you need to kind of put it all together. This is roughly what it looks like, kind of packed down. Different sets look slightly differently. So we'll just say that this is the one of the ones we have here in Norfolk. And again, I don't know quite where you're situated and what where works best, but we do have a set of equipment in Downham Market, which, if that's anywhere near where any of you are, is available if you become a member for you to use. Alternatively, in Cambridgeshire, so we manage that one in Downham Market and other sets in Norfolk. In Cambridgeshire, Babylon Arts manages a set of equipment that's located in Ely. So it's a very similar setup, but I think the box just looks a little bit different, but it's a similar sort of size. And we are about to be sort of working with Suffolk Cinema Network, and they have a set of equipment in Newmarket, which would also, in the next sort of few months, becoming available, should that be a suitable set of equipment for you to utilise. And then when it's set up, it looks something along those kind of lines. As you can, and that's quite a good picture to show you a venue that has a stage and a sort of curtaining area. So in fact, if that screen had been put on the stage with that curtaining around, it does look quite nice. And that's working in quite a sort of large area. So just to give you an idea of what it looks like. When it comes to your venue, pretty much any venue is suitable to use as a cinema space. We work with quite small venues that only can seat sort of 30 or 40 people, and we can work with venues that can seat, 150. So, but what we say ideally is that you might have 30 feet from back to front, approximately 15-foot clearance for the screen, given that the height of the screen itself is 8 foot plus it's on its legs, that you're able to black out, which is obviously quite handy. Although the projectors are quite good, it doesn't have to be 100% black out, but it does obviously need to be darkened. And obviously access to electricity is always handy. In addition to that, the venue itself needs to be licensed appropriately. So most of the time venues have these in place, but I just like to kind of make sure that you are aware. So it needs to have a premises license or a temporary events license or an exemption. So I think quite a lot of village halls are exempt, but you do need to make sure you have got that exemption from and those are from your local authority. You also need to make sure you've got PRS and PPL, so it's Performing Rights Society, to cover the copyright of the music. And that includes the music that's in the film. So you need to make sure you do have that in place. And obviously you need to have public liability insurance, or something that covers you as an organisation putting on events and inviting members of the public into your venue. Like I said, you probably have all of these things in place already. One thing I would just mention with premises licenses, if you have that, you sometimes need to add cinema as a named activity. So you might just need to check that. In addition to that, the film itself that you play needs to be licensed as well, the individual film. So as I put here, a screening of film outside of the home constitutes a public performance, and it requires permission or licensing from the copyright holder to do that. So a DVD, when you buy one, usually comes with a kind of warning at the beginning that says to you not to play it, in a public place. It's for home entertainment only. So basically, when you do then play that DVD in a public place, you just need a license to allow you to do it. And I've just put there about the fact that we call screenings in places like community venues non-theatrical, as opposed to theatrical screenings, which would be at the cinema. So, and to do that, we obviously you normally use a DVD or a Blu-ray disc. These licenses are available and Creative Arts can book those for you, or you can go directly to a distributor and I put there Filmbank Media, which is a big main distributor in the UK for films on DVD, or places like the British Film Institute also hold some licensing. So you can do that yourself if you want to, and if that's something you want to do, I can give you information about how to do it. Otherwise, Creative Arts East can book licenses on your behalf and sort that all out for you. So in order to help you with that, Creative Arts East supports with sort of programming and sourcing film licenses. We try to provide 3 to 4 sort of menus of films per year. those menus will be a list of sort of recently released films. As you can imagine, just because a film isn't on one of my menus or currently at the cinema or something, it doesn't mean it's not available to screen. So I always send out these menus as a kind of latest release guide. Doesn't mean that you can't book a film that's from the last menu or from a few years ago or whenever. Most films are available to screen, but I provide these menus as a kind of guide as to what's coming out recently. And these are just the front covers of the last two that I've done. And inside each one, hopefully, you can just get an idea of this. Obviously, we'll send round the film menus if you haven't had them already, so you'll see this properly. What I try to do is highlight, so on the left there are sort of slightly more unusual, sort of independent, but really good films. And then on the right, there'll be another section of the more sort of mainstream standard films, so that there's a sort of I try to offer a kind of mix and an idea of some of the films that you might not have heard of that are really good. Also, our British Film Institute funding does like us to promote more independent cinema, but also I think a lot of our village halls do like to have a bit of a mix of a film. They're not bothered about doing the sort of latest blockbuster. It is about a mix of you know, some of the sort of big sort of films, but also some of the more independent sort of or British films anyway. I will just add, in addition to this, we try to support you to sort of build a kind of programme of films throughout the year, or to sort of do seasons of films, so that you're building up a sort of regular audience. That seems to be a popular way forward with cinema, is to do something once a month and have a mix of films across the year rather than sort of one-offs. In addition, though, we do offer menus that include short films, that includes local archive, and we're also building a new, what we call an event cinema menu, which is screenings of live performances. So where a live performance has taken place on stage and it's been recorded to view on screen. So we are building a menu for that as well. Just thought I'd let you know what we've supported over the last few years to give you an idea. So I've obviously had to go back a few years, because obviously the last 2 years have not been very representational of what we would do normally. So you can see over sort of, so we tend to work in financial years due to our funding and reporting and things. So I've just sort of picked out our figures in that way. So you can see the number of screenings we've supported over those last couple of years. And generally, you know, we have quite a vibrant and mixed kind of programme of films going on across our venues. And as you can see there, we've gone up to sort of 64 community sort of groups and venues that we were working with in 2019 to 20, and the amount of admissions we were getting that, and what kind of revenue that was building for those venues as a whole. Obviously, you know, divide that up. And also just an idea then of the films that were popular in those 2 years, just to give you an idea of the mix. As I said, like, you know, the Guernsey Literary Potato Peel High Society against The Greatest Showman in that year, you know, just shows you the sort of the width of sort of films that people like to screen. Then I just thought I'd add in, obviously over 2020 to 2021, not huge amounts happened in terms of events, but we did support 4 venues to do some screenings, so that wasn't too bad really, although 3 of them were small arts venues. But even so, I think, you know, we did well to sort of to do that kind of work in that year. But we did also, like I said, because we work on our projects outside of our sort of rural touring, we were able to still deliver some work that supported our organisation, and so we're still here now, able to pick back up again. So we did things working with libraries and working on training modules, working with young people, doing lots of sort of online stuff. For our Day Out participants, we created actually posted packs. And as I said, we're delivering stuff as part of the Kickstart. And we've looked into doing more digital work as well. So we're working on this project called Plugged In. And so that has led to this current year that we're just coming to end, that we are now beginning to pick back up again. And so up until December, we had already sort of supported 90 screenings in 25 of our venues. So we're obviously still a way off where we were before, but beginning to come back. And obviously, like I've said there, with the virtual screenings as well, we did a few of those and they worked quite well as well. So I'm quite confident that we are building back up and moving forward, supporting our venues again in a really positive way. And yes, so this year, popular choices have been things like Nomadland, which has been really a good choice for some of our venues, but also things like The Father was quite popular, and The Last Bus. So again, like I said, it was sort of British led, but a mix. So positive looking forward. So I am nearly finished with my presentation, so I'll just finish off by saying what correct membership of our community cinema scheme sort of gets for you. So basically it's there to support groups who want Creative Arts East to book film licenses for you, and if you need projection equipment as well. I realise that quite a few you probably are not situated anywhere that close to where we house equipment, but we can work with you to get that to you in one way or another, or support you getting advice as to how you might install your own equipment. So the projection equipment is available. So here in Norfolk, I would normally charge £30 for hiring the equipment normally. Over this last year, we've been offering it for free, obviously to try to help people get back going. In Cambridgeshire, currently the equipment is available for free. And that will be ongoing for the next year. And then after that, it obviously Babylon Arts manages the set of kit in Cambridgeshire. So we are working with them as to what that will be. But even so, a £30 fee for hiring the equipment for a day is a very reasonable rate. There is technical support available as well. Obviously, we provide guides as to how to set it all up. And there is technical support that you can phone if you're having problems on the day. So we currently offer a standard film license booking fee that has been £95 as a minimum, or 35% plus the £20 fee. However, again, we've been subsidising quite a lot over this last year and will be going into the next year. So we've been offering at least 3 or 4 subsidised film licence opportunities. Going into the new year, that is to be confirmed as to how many, but there will certainly be a number of subsidised film opportunities, and they are costed at just 35% of your box office. As I said before, we also offer short films, which includes local archive, and we are producing an event cinema menu. In addition to that, we also offer an online members area. So when it comes to booking the licenses, you go on there and you book it, and then we sort out the rest. We offer marketing support as and when you need it. So that can be actual physical printed flyers and posters, or it's online, digital, either digital posters, or we do social media posts, whatever you prefer. We also have a What's On page on our website, so all of anything that you book through us goes on to that What's On, and we also include it in our monthly sort of emailed newsletters to our mailing list as well. We also offer networking days, opportunities to sort of meet with other cinema and live venues as well, to have a chat about what's happening at the moment, to see what's on. And we also offer opportunities to go to industry events or go to screenings where possible. And certainly with some of the films that are more unusual, if you felt like you wanted to go and see that film, then we would support you going to see it at the cinema or going to see it at an industry event if it's coming up, things like that. I'll just finish by saying the way we work is that they are your events. You choose what you want to program. Obviously, we try to support you as best we can in what that might be, give you ideas. You know, I often get emails from people saying, you know, we want to book something, what do you think is going to come out? You know, especially if you're looking at a film you're not sure is quite out on DVD yet, we'll sort of have a look at what that might be. But you choose what you want, how it will work with your audiences, and obviously we just support you as best we can to make that a successful event, and hopefully, as I said with cinema, an ongoing successful sort of ongoing programme of cinema activity, which is what I would really like to see happen. And so finally, the cost of being a member. So if you just want to join screen or live independently, then it's £50 for the year. And if you want to join both of them together, then it's £70, which is what we're trying to promote a little bit with Cambridgeshire, because we're really wanting people to also have a little try of our live scheme as well. And obviously you get the guarantee against loss against live performances as well. And so I'm going to leave that up for a minute with my contact details. Obviously, they will be circulated afterwards anyway, so don't worry if you don't get it all now. But I am always happy to chat with people, email you about cinema, about films, whatever you need. So get in touch, and hopefully I can help you get started or continue or wherever you're up to. So I will leave it there. And
that's brilliant. Thanks, Alice. Did you want to stop sharing and then we can open up to a bit of a discussion if anybody's got any questions? Brilliant. Thank you. Who'd like to start? Are there any questions that people have got in relation to setting up rural cinema at your venues? Oh no, everybody's very quiet. Oh, Kimberly's got her hand up.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out where the raise hand button was because I'm used to using Teams now. I guess a big thing for us, and probably a lot of the people on this meeting, is to do with costs. So I wonder if you might be able to give us maybe a breakdown of what a typical screening might cost, you know, from start to finish, what, you know, your suggested charges are, you know, for members of the public. And I know you mentioned sort of right at the beginning of your talk that you're funded by lots of different people, especially for the live performances. Is that then something that's covered when you come into community venues for free, or are the venues then paying you park costs or something towards those live performances as well? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so with the live performances, the way that works is the subsidy is a guarantee against loss. So we would ask the venue to provide, to contribute towards the cost of the artist. So Creative Arts East will pay the artist the full fee. So for example, if the artist costs £500, we would pay that. And we would ask you for whatever you then take on as admission to your event. You'd then obviously pay that to Creative Arts East as a kind of, and then we obviously cover the rest of it to the artist. For your first 2 shows, I think it's 2, Lisa. Then
Kimberly's actually in Peterborough, so I'm not sure she'd be covered by the Fenland project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we've got a mix today of people coming from all over the county. Well,
for Creative Arts East anyway, we would always offer the first live show at 100% guarantee against loss. So you would pay what you took in your ticket income to Creative Arts East, and then we would pay the rest. The rest of after that, the guarantee against loss just has a minimum fee. That minimum fee might be £150 or £200 depending on the cost of the artist. And then if that's the case, then there would be a minimum that you would pay to Creative Arts East. But again, you wouldn't ever be expected to pay the full cost of the artist unless obviously you had, you know, so many people in your venue that you made the full cost. But you know, that's not very often. And I would also just add that the income that is based on your income from your tickets. not from any income from anything else that's to do with providing refreshments or food or raffle or anything like that. It is just the admission to see the event.
Okay, thank you.
Then with cinema, as I said, the cost for cinema, we offer a standard, at the moment, standard cost for cinema and film screenings. So that at the moment would be £95 as a minimum guarantee. So that would be the minimum you pay, or 35% of your box office plus a £20 fee. So that's the minimum. However, what we are also offering is a number of subsidised events where then you would just give us 35% of your ticket income.
Okay.
Above that, obviously, if you need to use equipment, there could be an extra charge for the hire of the equipment, but currently that's free as well. But ongoing, there could be a fee of roughly £30 for that should you need it. Normally, our venues for screenings charge for tickets of about £5, and that varies. So we have got some people charge as low as £3, and some people who charge £6 or £7. So you set that how you want and how you feel it fits with your community. And again, you can do levels for concessions and, you know, non-concessions, however you think it works best. Yeah, so we're happy to you set that how you want and how it works for you. But yeah, roughly the average is about £5.
Yeah, very helpful, thank you. I'm just wondering also, is there any kind of funding out there that would cover these kinds of things? Because our centre's in sort of a deprived area of the town where we are.
Yeah.
Is there sort of funding out there where we can put on things like this for the community with a minimal, or, you know, a minimal charge to the community? I
think there definitely is. Obviously, I don't know your area, but yeah. I know certainly round here, local authorities do hold pots of funding that you can apply to as a community group. In addition, I am aware, because we did work with a group near Wisbeach, just in Norfolk, but near Wisbeach, who'd got some funding, I think, through it's either the health lottery or the postcode lottery. Because they are a deprived area and a low income area, they got some funding that way, and were able to use that funding to subsidise the cost of, you know, admission, and therefore the cost of the licenses and things like that. So I can't remember if it's either the health lottery or the postcode lottery that you can apply to as well. There probably are other pots as well that are not coming to mind. But I know, again, here in Norfolk we have the Norfolk Community Foundation, and I know in Suffolk they have a Suffolk Community Foundation which you can apply. There's
one in Cambridgeshire as well. So
yeah. So there are. So I think there are places like that that you can apply to, and hopefully you'd find a fund that was suitable for you.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
Good.
Phil, did you want to go next?
Yes, just a simple logistical question is about collection and delivery of equipment.
Okay.
How easy is it? Is there a charge? And how do we go about it?
So
the nearest one would be Ely, I would think.
Yes. So we would we normally expect the group to go and pick up and return the equipment from where it's housed. However, what we have been trying to do is to work with groups of people who are close to each other and potentially hand it on to each other, rather than everybody going backwards and forwards to Ely all the time. Try to work out that we hand it on to somebody who's using it next week, rather than taking it back. So as I said, the equipment nearest to you is in Ely, so yeah, it would be that it needs to be picked up from there, and that's how it would work. So there's no additional cost for that, obviously, other than you.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Okay.
And we've got somebody with a hand raised, but I'm not quite sure. Is it Sue? You'll need to unmute.
Hello, it
Hello.
could be Sylvia from Little Granston.
Oh, Sylvia, lovely, thank you.
Right. For some time I've been muttering to our village hall, we really should start a film club. There are two questions that occur to me. Do we need this high definition projector, I mean, in the past, we've occasionally shown film, and I or a colleague have been out to collect equipment, but now our village hall is quite well provided, in the sense that it has a relatively large screen, and if people have access to a projector, do we need that sort of quality of equipment? So that was my first question. Perhaps we'll leave my second until later.
Okay. All right, well, I'll answer that, and then if you want to ask the next one, that's fine. So I would say it's kind of up to you, really. However, I mean, my view is that you should probably give your audiences the best experience that you can possibly give them. So potentially using a high definition projector is better. Also, but again, it's up to you. If you've got one and it's good enough and people are happy to pay a ticket and come and see that, then that's fine. You can always borrow the equipment and see how it looks against your own equipment. So I'd say if you've got a screen installed, 100%, and I mean, unless it's really tiny, use the screen that's installed, because the biggest part of the kit really is the screen. So if you can avoid having to lug the screen around and put that up, that's a big chunk of the work that you don't have to do. However, I would suggest it's worth at least borrowing the projector and maybe even the sound equipment as well, and looking at how that works against what you've got and seeing how much better or not it is, and therefore whether it's worth the trek and the cost to get the mobile equipment. So I would strongly suggest that you try it out and then decide which one is best. Does that help?
Yes, that is helpful. Previously, we've been, I think, over to Huntingdon to pick up equipment. I assume that Huntingdon are no longer have a centre, do they?
I'm not aware of anything there.
I don't know. I know, I'm not aware of it, I'm afraid.
Right, thank you. The second question, if I may very quickly, was, as I mentioned, I was talking about a film club. If we were to set up a discrete film club with what's the word, members rather than people just turning up, presumably a slightly different aspect of copyright might arise. Is that true?
Yes, it is. So again, it depends on what you're actually doing and what you want to charge and what you want to advertise. So if you're not doing either of those things, then you can obtain a sort of an umbrella license, which then you just pay an annual fee for, and you just report back to them what you screen, and you don't have to pay for that individually. So yes, you can do that for a closed sort of yeah. Right. You can. Again, they do tend to specify that film shouldn't be the main, because it's supposed to be for sort of clubs and groups that might use film as a part of their activity. But there are a couple of ways that you can go about licensing, and it would come as an annual license for a film club, yes, but you can't advertise it to the wider public, and you can't charge for viewing the film.
Admission, no, understood.
Yes.
So that license is available from the British Film Institute or what?
No, there's two. One of them is available through Film Bank, and another one is available through the Motion Picture Licensing Company. If you want to email me about that separately, then I'm happy to provide you with the links as to where to get that information. I can do that if you want to email me about that.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for your help. Much obliged.
No worries.
Okay, Jeff, did you want to go next?
Yeah, if that's okay. Thank you for putting on this presentation. It's helpful, but I have a couple of questions. We invested in a 120-inch laser TV in our hall, which has internet connectivity. We could stream from Amazon Prime and things like that if we wanted to. But of course, legally, I'm a little bit concerned what we need to do for compliance on that. Is that possible to do it that way?
You can. So again, it depends on what you want to do. So if you're wanting to screen a film, as in what we've just talked about, and you're going to, sell tickets and advertise it and have an audience, then even though you've got the TV screen as opposed to a cinema screen, you would still need to pay for the film license to screen it. I mean, normally it would be expected that you'd use a DVD or a Blu-ray to play it, but I suppose if you have Amazon Prime on there and you can stream it through Amazon and you're happy that your internet and everything works well enough to stream the film for the entirety in your village hall, then that's doable. The other side of that then, and that sort of goes back a little bit to the umbrella licensing I was talking about with Sylvia. So if you wanted to put other stuff on, like but more background stuff, so you're not, again, what I said, you're not charging and you're not advertising, but you're putting it on that screen as more of a kind of background thing that's on, then you would need, you do need some sort of licensing to screen any of that content in your village hall. So either it's through an umbrella license or it's through a single title license if you're doing it for a specific audience.
Right. We thought we might also open it up for big events like World Cup and tennis tournaments, and just have it on in the background. Not necessarily charge people to come in and see that.
That's it. So and for that one, probably the best way to go for that one is probably go to the motion picture licensing companies, MPLC, and I think they would probably be able to help you with that kind of licensing for background stuff. And then other stuff like streaming, sports, I'm not 100% aware of what licensing that involves, but I think the MPLC would help you with that.
Okay, do you have the links for those?
I can find it for you, and again, if you email me, I'll email you the link, because I'll have to find it, if that's all right.
Okay, I'll have to see if I've got your email. Thank you for that, Alice.
That's all right.
Jeff, don't worry about email addresses, because I will send those round. I'll send all the information around after the session, so you'll have Alice's contact details so you can get in touch with her.
I will just put my email address in the chat now. That might help.
That would be great. Thank you, Alice. Steve, did you want to go next?
Thank you. My question is going back to the actual equipment. We've got a sort of Bluetooth audio system in our hall. Does the equipment, would that be able to link into our own audio system so we didn't need the speakers?
Currently, the system, I think, doesn't. I think you would have to wire it. I don't think anything would work wirelessly. You would need to connect up using, speaker cables and that kind of thing. That's not to say that it couldn't.
No, we also have the ability to wire in to our own audio system, so presumably your wire, we could just, instead of plug it into your speakers, we could plug it into our system.
That's it, yeah. So again, I'm not 100% sure about the equipment house at Ely, because I'm not quite sure what they have, and because I know for our equipment here in Norfolk, they just come with sort of jack leads. And so most of the time they can either suit most sets of equipment, or you can get adapters to make them into audio, cables from the jack to a normal audio cable. So I think that's doable. We might just need to make sure we've got the right cables or the right adapters to help you do it. And again, I think that's probably something that borrow the equipment and see how it works on, do a trial run before you're deciding to do any kind of real screening, and then check what you need. And if it turns out it's something that we can provide, then we can provide it, because it might be helpful for other people as well. Or it might be something you decide, well, we just need to get an adapter for our own venue, we'll get that and keep that for yourself. So I think the best thing there to do would be to borrow the equipment and see how it works in your venue and check what we actually need. Or I can come to your venue and have a look, and we can sort of work that out. So okay,
that's very, very good. I must admit I hadn't thought of that, borrowing the equipment, because we couldn't then just put any old DVD that we had.
Exactly, yeah. So if you're doing a trial run, you don't need to worry about a license fee for just popping a DVD in to check that, you know, what works and what doesn't. So that's absolutely fine. And again, we can just organise for you to borrow the equipment for a couple of days and then take it back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Lovely, thanks, Steve. Heather.
Thank you, Alice. That's been really informative, really helpful. I'm just wondering, is it possible to borrow 2 DVDs and do a children's performance in an afternoon and then do something for adults in the evening? Is that feasible?
Yeah, that's definitely feasible. So absolutely fine. So obviously you can borrow the equipment for the day and you can use it as many times as you like. The film itself, then obviously then it's a different license for the different films. That would be 2 film licenses. So obviously when we're subsidising stuff, that'd be 35% of whatever you take for the 2 screenings. Or if further down the line, or there isn't any subsidies, or you've run out of that, or whatever, obviously then the cost is that £95 for a screening, and that would apply both times. But most of the time we are able to sort of help and subsidise those screenings, so that should be fine. So hopefully the cost wouldn't be too much. But yes, you can do more than 1 film, and that, or you can screen the same film twice, whatever works well or works best for you. Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Are there any other questions from anybody? No? Oh, yes, Jeff.
I had to raise my hand, I'm afraid, because I couldn't find the button that allows me to put my hand up. However, insofar as we have a stage area, and behind that is about 40 feet of hall. Okay. My question is, if we put the tables with all the equipment on at the back of the hall, pointing back to the stage, will we get a good picture, or is that too far? What are the limits there?
So there's a sort of double answer to this. So the equipment that you might get from Ely, I'm fairly certain there's a set lens in there, and that can only be a certain distance away from the screen. So you'd probably end up with that projector sort of in the middle of your room. So you might have to kind of have that sort of a set place, because there's not much adjustability in the lens of the projector. However, the projector that we have here at Creative Arts East and the one at Downham Market has I can't remember, it's 2 or 3 different lenses which can then work close up or far back from the screen, and they are good quality, fairly high lumen projectors that will work from the back of the hall, as well as obviously at the front of the hall it probably is brighter being closer to the screen, but they certainly work with no problem at all being at the back of the room. So that's there's double answer. So Norfolk projector is definitely fine working from the back of the room, but if you're borrowing the one from Ely, you might find that you have to have it in the middle of the room anyway, because it doesn't throw long enough from the back. Does that answer?
Well, I take that message on board. As a Cambridgeshire aspect here, if I said I can probably get to Downham Market to pick equipment up as quickly as I can get to Ely,
right,
is there any reason why that wouldn't work?
No. So if you've joined and you're a member of our community cinema scheme, then you can book and use the kit from Downham Market if that's a suitable place for you to get to. So there's no problem with you borrowing kit from Norfolk if you're happy to make the journey to pick it up. No problem at all.
And one final thought, before I would have a hall with 60 people in it, I would like to be able to try that. How can we do a try before you buy kind of scenario?
Yeah, well, you can do it, obviously a trial run. Obviously, if you decide to go and do a full screening, obviously you need to kind of buy into it all, but you can do a trial, again, like I said, a trial run. So borrow the kit and just sort of pop a DVD in to check, you know, sound check and image check and those kind of things. So and you can do that at any time. So again, if you want to email me or get in touch with me about organising that, then we can do that. no problem at all. But obviously, if you want to run a proper screening, you will need to sign up, because you need to get the license and organise everything in the right way. But we can definitely do a trial run, yes.
And if we're clever, Alice, we could, if there's several people who wanted to do the trial run, we could perhaps organise it so it's on 1 week or something, and people can just pass it on to the next hall, and then it will cut down on mileage for people, won't it?
That's it, yes. So I mean, obviously it depends on who's borrowing what. So if people want to borrow the kit from Ely, obviously that's one set. But if Jeff wants to borrow the one from Downham Market, then that's a different set. And obviously, I don't want to end up with somebody, you know, over on the other side having to traipse back to Downham Market. But we would definitely try and organise that as best we can between all the people that want to give it a trial run, and we can perhaps use the 2 sets. Or just one, depending on what works best, but we'd organise that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Are there any other questions from anybody? No, I think we've exhausted all the questions. Okay. Can I thank Alice very much for such an informative presentation and discussion today. It's been really valuable, I think.